He left his wife for a younger woman. Then life taught him the ultimate lesson. Before we dive into today's story, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. It started with a whisper. A fleeting glance at his phone, a half smile at a message he thought no one noticed. But Julia did. She always did. For 20 years, she had been Adam's wife. She had built a home with him, raised their son, and stood by his side through every storm. And yet, in the quiet moments, the ones where his eyes lingered too long on his screen, or where he turned away just before she could reach for his hand, she knew. She just didn't want to believe it. Julia wasn't naive. She had seen marriages crumble, watched friends go through it, had even whispered, "That would never happen to me," while sipping coffee with a friend who had been blindsided by a cheating husband. But now, as she stared at Adam across the dinner table, watching him scroll absently on his phone while their son, Nathan, prattled on about college applications, she felt the weight of a truth she couldn't ignore. Something had changed. Adam was restless. The little things he used to do, the way he'd brush a stray strand of hair from her face, the way he'd call just to check in, had faded into memory. Now, he was late from work more often. He spent more time at the gym, paid more attention to his clothes, and started showering before bed, something he'd never done in all their years together. And then there was the scent, faint but distinct, of perfume that didn't belong to her. Julia didn't confront him right away. She wasn't ready for the truth. But the truth had a way of making itself known, whether she was ready or not. It was a Wednesday when she found out. A simple accident. Adam had left his laptop open. Julia hadn't meant to look. She had walked into the study to grab a book, but then she saw it. A message thread, open and waiting. "I can't wait to see you tonight. I hate leaving you in the morning." Her breath caught. "Soon, we won't have to sneak around." A picture followed, one of a woman, younger, smiling, radiant. Julia felt her stomach twist, her hands trembling as she scrolled. Every message was another cut, another betrayal spelled out in words she wished she'd never seen. This wasn't a fling. This was love, or at least Adam believed it was. By the time he came home that night, she had already made up her mind. She wasn't going to beg. She wasn't going to cry. She was going to let him go. That evening, she set the table like she always did. She made his favorite meal, grilled salmon, roasted potatoes, a fresh salad on the side. She poured him a glass of wine and waited. When Adam walked in, looking tired but oddly lighter than he had in weeks, he blinked at the sight of the perfect dinner. "You did all this?" he asked, hesitating. She smiled, and for the first time in months, it felt real. "Sit down, Adam." He did, shifting in his seat as if sensing the weight of what was coming. Nathan had already eaten and gone upstairs. It was just the two of them now. She let him take a few bites before she spoke. "I know about her." The fork slipped from his fingers, clattering against the plate. His face went pale, then red. "Julia, I'm not going to make this ugly," she said softly. "I just need you to be honest with me." He exhaled sharply, rubbing his temple. For a moment she thought he might deny it, spin some lie to buy himself more time. But then his shoulders sagged. "I didn't mean for it to happen," he murmured. Julia nodded, swallowing the lump in her throat. "But it did." He hesitated. "I still love you, Julia. I don't feel the same way I used to. And I met her, and she makes you feel alive again." His eyes flicked up to meet hers, filled with guilt. "I never wanted to hurt you, but you did." Silence stretched between them, thick with the weight of 20 years of marriage unraveling in a single conversation. Then she took a breath and said the words she never imagined saying. "I think you should go." Adam's lips parted in surprise. "What?" Julia forced herself to hold his gaze. "You love her, don't you?" His silence was her answer. "I won't beg you to stay," she continued, voice steady. "I won't try to make you feel guilty. I just want you to be sure. Because if you walk out that door for her, I need you to understand there's no coming back." Adam swallowed hard. For a fleeting moment, she saw hesitation flicker in his eyes, as if he was realizing what he was losing. But then, slowly, he nodded. "I think I should go." And just like that, it was over. The next morning, Adam packed his bags. Nathan barely spoke to him, slamming his door shut when Adam tried to explain. Julia didn't stop him. She didn't argue. As he stood at the front door, suitcase in hand, he looked back one last time. Julia stood in the hallway, arms crossed, her expression unreadable. "I hope you find what you're looking for," she said simply. He hesitated, but then turned and walked out the door. Julia closed it behind him, leaned against it, and let out a shaky breath. She had spent 2 decades loving him, building a life with him, believing they would grow old together. Now, she had to figure out who she was without him. But as she wiped her tears and stood tall, she realized something. She wasn't broken. She was free. Adam thought he would feel lighter. As he pulled into the parking lot of the high-rise condo where Olivia lived, he expected a rush of excitement, a sense of liberation. Instead, a strange hollowness settled in his chest. He had spent months imagining this moment, finally being with her, no sneaking around, no guilt, just them. But as he stared up at the glass-walled apartment, he realized something unsettling. For the first time in 20 years, he had no home to return to. Olivia greeted him at the door with a bright smile, wrapping her arms around his neck. "You're really here," she whispered, kissing him softly. Adam forced a smile. "I'm here." She pulled him inside, the scent of lavender and vanilla filling the air. Her place was modern, minimalist furniture, sleek countertops, floor-to-ceiling windows showcasing the city skyline. It was a far cry from the warmth of the home he had shared with Julia, where family photos lined the walls and the scent of home-cooked meals always lingered. But maybe that was the point. They spent the first few weeks in a blur of passion, late-night dinners, weekend getaways, the thrill of something new. Olivia was everything Julia wasn't anymore. Spontaneous, carefree, full of life. For a while, it was intoxicating, until reality set in. It started with little things. Olivia was used to living alone, and Adam quickly realized that sharing a space with her wasn't as effortless as he had imagined. She liked things a certain way. White furniture, no clutter, no signs of a life actually being lived. She cringed when he left his shoes by the door, sighed when he forgot to use a coaster, frowned when he turned on the news instead of some reality show she loved. One night, as they sat on the couch, she scrolled through her phone, barely looking up. "Hey," Adam said, nudging her playfully. "I'm right here, you know." She smirked. "Relax. I was just checking something." A beat of silence. "In my house, we used to talk during dinner," he said without thinking. Olivia raised an eyebrow. "Your house?" Adam hesitated. "I mean, with Julia." She made a face, setting her phone down. "Why do you always bring her up?" "I don't," he said defensively. "You kind of do." She crossed her arms. "I get it, Adam. You had a whole life before me. But maybe you should stop comparing everything to your ex-wife." The word ex-wife hit him harder than he expected. Julia had been his everything for 20 years, and now she was just a past chapter? He changed the subject, but the tension lingered. The fights started small. One night, he forgot to pick up takeout like he promised. Olivia was irritated. "I don't cook, Adam. You know that." Another night, he came home late from work, exhausted. She pouted. "You used to make time for me. Now it's just work, work, work." He wanted to say, "That's how I afford this lifestyle you love so much." But he bit his tongue. Slowly, reality chipped away at the fantasy. Olivia wasn't the easygoing, carefree woman he had fallen for. She was demanding, impatient, immature in ways he hadn't noticed before. One night, after another argument, he found himself scrolling through his phone, looking at old pictures of Julia and Nathan. A family trip to the lake, a birthday dinner, little moments that had seemed so ordinary at the time. Now they felt like home, and home was something he no longer had. While Adam was realizing that his dream life wasn't so perfect, Julia was learning how to live again. At first, the loneliness was unbearable. She had spent 2 decades building her life around a man who had walked away like it was nothing. But slowly, she rediscovered herself. She started painting again, something she had given up years ago. She took yoga classes, went on weekend trips with friends, even joined a book club. For the first time in years, she wasn't just someone's wife. She was Julia. And then, there was Nathan. Their son had been angry at first, lashing out in the way that only an 18-year-old could. How could Dad do this? He had asked over and over, but as time passed, he grew closer to Julia than ever before. He saw her strength, her resilience, and he admired her for it. One night, as they sat on the couch watching a movie, he said something that caught her off guard. "I like this version of you, Mom." She smiled. "What do you mean?" "You just seem lighter, like you're not carrying the weight of keeping Dad happy anymore." She blinked, stunned by his words. Had she spent all those years doing just that, sacrificing pieces of herself to keep a man happy, only for him to throw it all away? Julia wasn't bitter. She was just done. One evening, after another pointless argument with Olivia, Adam found himself driving past his old house. The lights were on. Through the window, he could see Julia laughing with Nathan, both of them looking at something on a laptop. For the first time since leaving, it hit him. They were happy. Without him. He had spent months believing he had made the right choice, that his new life was better. But standing there, watching his past through the glass, he felt something cold settle in his chest. Regret. Pure, undiluted regret. As he drove back to Olivia's apartment, her texts lighting up his phone with complaints about how late he was, he suddenly realized he had left the woman who would have loved him forever for a woman who barely tolerated him now. And for the first time since walking out that door, Adam wondered if he had just made the biggest mistake of his life. Adam's realization gnawed at him. He had spent months chasing something that no longer felt real. Olivia, once the thrilling escape from routine, now felt like a stranger, one he was financially supporting, constantly arguing with, and never truly connecting with. And Julia was thriving without him. That stung more than he wanted to admit. But Adam hadn't yet learned his lesson. Not fully. Life wasn't done teaching him. It happened on a Saturday night. Adam had worked late, exhausted from a long week. He wanted nothing more than to come home, take a shower, and sleep. But when he walked into the condo, Olivia was waiting for him, arms crossed. "You didn't text me back," she said coldly. Adam sighed, dropping his keys on the counter. "Olivia, I was at work. My phone was in my desk." She scoffed. "You used to make time for me. And you used to be understanding," he shot back, rubbing his temples. "I'm paying for this place. I'm keeping us afloat. The least you could do is not turn every night into a fight." Her expression shifted. Less frustration, more calculation. "I don't need you to take care of me, Adam. Really." He laughed, though there was no humor in it. "Because last time I checked, you quit your job right after I left Julia. And somehow I'm the only one paying rent here." Her face hardened. "Wow. So that's how you see me?" "I see you for what you are," he snapped. "You wanted an escape, just like I did. But guess what, Olivia? You're not my escape anymore." The words hung in the air, thick with finality. And then, Olivia smirked. "Good," she said, "because I was done with you weeks ago." Adam frowned. "What?" She reached for her phone, tapping the screen before holding it up. A text conversation, a name he didn't recognize. "Can't wait for our weekend together. I'll tell Adam tonight." His blood ran cold. Olivia sighed dramatically. "Did you really think I'd just sit around waiting for you to be fun again? You were exciting in the beginning. Now you're just old." Something in Adam cracked. "You don't look so shocked," she interrupted, rolling her eyes. "You left your wife for someone younger. Why wouldn't I trade you in for someone better?" Adam's hands clenched into fists. He had given up everything for her, his marriage, his family, his home, and she had never loved him. Not really. She had loved the thrill, the chase, the power of stealing a married man. Now that he wasn't married anymore, he was just another man. Disposable. Olivia picked up her purse, slinging it over her shoulder. "You should probably start packing," she said lightly. "I'll need you out by the end of the week." And just like that, she walked out the door. Adam stood frozen in the middle of the apartment, his heart pounding in his ears. He had thrown away a lifetime for a woman who had never intended to stay. And now he had nothing. While Adam's world crumbled, Julia's was expanding. She had spent months rediscovering herself, and now, for the first time in years, she felt whole. She had reconnected with old friends, started traveling, and even picked up a part-time consulting job, something she had put off for years while supporting Adam's career. And then there was David. He was a friend at first, someone she met through her book club, a retired lawyer, kind and thoughtful, with a gentle sense of humor. He didn't flirt or rush things. He just listened. And that, Julia realized, was something she hadn't experienced in a long time. One evening, after a group dinner, David walked her to her car. "I just wanted to say," he said hesitantly, "and I admire how strong you are. It's not easy rebuilding your life after a divorce." Julia smiled. "It wasn't easy being married to the wrong person either." David chuckled. "Fair enough." There was a pause, one of those quiet, lingering moments where something unspoken filled the air. "Would you like to get coffee sometime?" he asked. Julia hesitated, not because she wasn't interested, but because for the first time in a long time, she wasn't searching for love. But maybe, just maybe, It had found her anyway. She smiled. I'd like that. By the time Adam moved out of Olivia's apartment, he had no choice but to rent a tiny one-bedroom across town. It was the kind of place he had never imagined living in: cheap furniture, noisy neighbors, a broken faucet that no one seemed in a hurry to fix. The worst part? He was alone. Nathan barely spoke to him. Julia had moved on. And the friends he once had? They had been their friends, his and Julia's. Without her, most of them stopped reaching out. One evening, after too many drinks, Adam picked up his phone and dialed Julia's number. She answered after a few rings. Adam? Hearing her voice sent a wave of regret crashing over him. Hey, he said, his voice rough. I just wanted to talk. There was a pause. Are you okay? I don't know, he admitted. I think I made a mistake. Julia sighed softly. Adam, can we meet? He asked, desperation creeping into his voice. Just to talk? Another pause. Then gently she said, I don't think that's a good idea. His throat tightened. Julia, please. I've moved on, she said, her voice kind but firm. And you need to too. He closed his eyes. I just miss you. There was silence, and then softly, I think you missed the life you had, not me. She wasn't wrong. Adam had spent so much time chasing something new that he had never stopped to appreciate what he already had. And now, it was gone. For good. Adam sat in his tiny apartment, the dim glow of a single lamp casting long shadows on the walls. The silence was unbearable. For 20 years he had come home to the sound of Julia humming in the kitchen, the scent of dinner in the air, the warmth of a family that loved him. Now the only sound was the low hum of the refrigerator and the occasional thump from the neighbor upstairs. He reached for his phone, scrolling through old photos, Nathan's graduation, a family trip to the lake, Julia smiling at him across a candlelit table. He had everything, and he threw it away for nothing. A week after Julia had gently but firmly told him she had moved on, Adam tried one last time. He showed up at the house that no longer belonged to him. Julia answered the door, looking more radiant than he had ever remembered. She wore a light sweater and jeans, her hair pulled back casually, her eyes no longer carrying the weight of him. He forced a smile. Hey, she hesitated, then stepped outside, closing the door behind her. Adam, what are you doing here? I just wanted to see you. She studied him for a moment, then sighed. Adam, we've been through this. I know, he said quickly. Julia, I made a mistake. Her expression softened, but she didn't say anything. I thought I wanted something different, he admitted. I thought I needed more excitement, something new. But Olivia, she never loved me. She just wanted the thrill. And when it was gone, she left. Julia nodded, as if none of this surprised her. And now you're realizing what you lost. His throat tightened. Yes. She crossed her arms, leaning against the porch railing. Do you remember our wedding vows, Adam? His chest ached. Of course I do. I meant mine, she clarified. He frowned, confused. She took a breath. I promised to love you, to stand by you, to fight for us, even when things got hard. She exhaled. And I did, Adam. For 20 years I fought for us, even when you got distant, even when I could feel you slipping away. I still held on. His stomach twisted with guilt. But love isn't just about holding on, she continued. It's about two people choosing each other every single day. And the moment you stopped choosing me, our marriage was already over. He wanted to protest, to say it wasn't true, that he had loved her all along. But the truth was he hadn't chosen her. And now she was choosing herself. I wish I could take it back, he whispered. Julia's eyes were kind but unwavering. I don't. That stung more than he expected. She glanced at the door behind her. Nathan's inside. If you want to see him, I won't stop you. But Adam. She hesitated, then said, I think this is where our story ends. He swallowed hard, nodding. This time, he wouldn't fight it, because deep down, he knew she was right. As Julia closed the door behind her, Adam stood there for a long moment, staring at the wood grain, his fingers itching to knock again. But what would be the point? She had given him her love, her patience, her devotion, and he had thrown it away. Now someone else would get to love her the way she deserved, and he would have to live with that. As he turned to leave, the sound of laughter floated through the door, Julia and Nathan, sharing a moment he would never be a part of again. It was in that moment Adam finally understood. Losing Julia wasn't his punishment. It was his consequence, and there was no undoing it. Months passed. Seasons changed. Adam never went back to the house. He saw Nathan occasionally, short visits, strained conversations, but his son had built a life where he no longer needed his father the way he once had. Julia flourished. She traveled. She laughed more. She found companionship in David, a man who didn't take her for granted. And Adam learned to live with regret. Because sometimes the hardest lesson life teaches you is that the love you once had won't always be there when you finally realize its worth. Sometimes life doesn't give second chances. Adam learned that love isn't just about passion or excitement. It's about choosing the right person every single day. And when he stopped choosing Julia, she finally chose herself. What do you think? Did he deserve his fate? Let me know in the comments, and if you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more powerful stories just like this one. Until next time, stay inspired.